You thought of that?
Hello.
Yes, me lord.
Welcome to our village.
I must hunt soon. Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. You thought of that? Very well. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. Very well. Rages. That was my plan. Die. Agreed. I hunger. Very well. Death rages. I hunger. Death rages. I hunger. Die. Death rages. I hunger. Death rages. You thought of that? That was my plan. I hunger. Your soul is mine. You thought of that? Very well. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. Die. That was my plan. I hunger. You thought of that? That was my plan. Very well. Death rages. What? That was my plan. You thought of that?
Hello.
What?
Very well.
I hunger.
Die. That was my plan. Death rages. Die. Death rages.
I hunger.
Very well. That was my plan. You thought of that? Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. Die. Agreed.
I hunger.
Very well. Die. Agreed. That was my plan. You thought of that? Greetings. Very well. Death rages. Die. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. You thought of that? Death rages. Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. Die.
I hunger.
Death rages. That was my plan. You thought of that? That was my plan. You thought of that? Die.
I hunger.
You thought of that? That was my plan. Death rages. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. Very well. What is it now? What, mortal? Greetings. That was my plan. What is it now? Plan. You thought of that? Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. Rages. You thought of that? That was my plan. Very well. That was my plan. Death rages. Agreed.
I hunger.
Death rages.
I hunger.
Death rages.
I hunger. I hunger.
That was my plan. Agreed. You thought of that. That was my plan. Very well. Death rages. You thought of that. Very well. That was my plan. Agreed. Die. That was my plan. Very well. You thought of that? Death rages. Very well. That was my plan. Very well. Agreed. What, mortal? You thought of that? That was my plan. Die.
I hunger.
Death rages. That was my plan.
Thy bidding, master.
Greetings. Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. Die. Death rages.
I wish only to serve.
I must hunt soon. Very well. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. Agreed. Greetings. That was my plan. First blood. You thought of that. Death rages.
I hunger.
Agreed. That was my plan.
Greetings, my lord.
What is it now? Death rages. Thought of that. Agreed. Very well. You thought of that.
Is my aid required?
I must hunt soon. That was my plan. Agreed. Your soul is mine. That was my plan. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. You thought of that?
I hunger.
Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. Very well. Death rages. Agreed.
I hunger.
Very well. Death rages. That was my plan. What, mortal? Very well.
I hunger.
Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. Death rages. You thought of that? Die. Agreed. Greetings.
I hunger.
Die. That was my plan. You thought of that? Very well. You thought of that? Agreed. Very well. Death rages. Die. Very well. Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. Agreed. That was my plan. What, mortal?
More gold is
I
required.
must hunt soon. You thought of that? Death rages. Die.
I hunger.
Very well. Agreed. You thought of that? That was my plan. Die.
I hunger.
Death rages. Agreed. Very well. Agreed. Very well. You thought of that?
I hunger.
That was my plan. Very well.
Wait till you see me in action.
What is it now?
I hunger.
You thought of that? Very well. That was my plan. Very well. Die. You thought of that? Very well. Death rages. Agreed. Very well. You thought of that? That was my plan. You thought of that? Very well.
I hunger.
Thought of that? Agreed. Thought of that? Death rages.
I hunger.
Very well.
There's no time to rest.
Welcome to our village.
Our warriors have engaged the enemy.
Agreed. You thought of that? Very well. That was my plan. Very well. You thought of that? Very well. What, mortal? Agreed. Very well. That was my plan.
I hunger.
Agreed. Very well. That was my plan. Very well. That was my plan.
I hunger.
Rages. Very well. Agreed. You thought of that. Agreed.
I hunger.
That was my plan.